Welcome, everybody, to another episode of B&B Hockey Talk, brought to you by our sponsor of the month, ID Seal, for all your identity theft protection needs. So I'm Aaron Bloxel, and I'm with my co-host, Matt Balzer, as we get we're going to jump right into today's show. I just saw, it just came out now on NBC that the NHL has admitted that they may have missed glove hand pass in the St. Louis San Jose game the other night.
Oh.
So we're going to talk about that series, and we're going to talk about the other series, of course. But let's start off with that one. A couple nights ago, St. Louis, San Jose. St. Louis, man, I actually left the game when it was 2-0 San Jose. We made a heck of a game out of it, and then when I saw the third period, I still can't believe that Jordan Schwartz missed the empty net, which would have solved everything. But then Logan Couture, of course, comes up big again, ties it up, and then controversy finishes the game. First time I've ever seen a guy score an overtime goal that didn't celebrate.
I know, Matt. I still can't believe how all four officials missed the hand pass. It's like, it's not just like the two refs that can call that; the linesman can call it too. It's just the most, like, the puck pops up in the air and Meyer, he just smacks it over, and then Nyquist he even hesitates like a second, like should I touch this or whatever, and then passes it over to Carlson, and then he scores, and then of course, like, I didn't see it live or live, I sort of overlooked it or whatever, and then all of a sudden you see the replay and it's like, oh my goodness, like, and then of course the NHL and its awesome rules, you can't review that. And then it just comes down to if the ref saw it, and that's it. You just add it to the book of things or controversial things that have happened these playoffs, with the Sharks being in the middle of basically all of them these playoffs. So it's just something where you think the NHL would have a rule that, like, it would have literally taken Toronto a minute to phone down into St. Louis to be like, hey, that's a hand pass, it should be no goal, and then you play on, and then. Of course, Jordan Binnington, you saw after when the goal was allowed, slamming his stick into the glass there. And I put up, it's like, it's a rarity that you see him show any emotion whatsoever. So you know he was mad or whatever if he was mad.
Braden Shen as well, where he's smashing the stick next to the glass where the refs were going off.
Mm-hmm.
Is an unfortunate bounce. It is one of those things that's in the rules. Unfortunately, if you don't see it, you can't call it. I still like the idea that we had where they could have another ref upstairs that has access to replays and can call down to the refs in like an earpiece, kind of like soccer, where they can make a call or call a major penalty from up top. Just the game's too big, too fast now. And even Coach Rod Brindamore said yesterday, after their loss, that there's just too much on the line for errors like that to happen. I don't know, a reporter must have asked him about what he thought about it. But that brings us to the other series. By the way, right now, St. Louis up 1-0 against San Jose, trying to even the series before going back to San Jose. Big game for them. They're really taking it to San Jose tonight. I've been really impressed with the energy that they've had. They've come out flying, but 1-0 still there. Carolina, Boston. Boston finishes the sweep. I got to say, it's an absolute dominant game for their top line, Bergeron, Pasternak, and, of course, Marchand. But Tuukka Rask just absolutely continues to get it done. Why don't you touch on that game as well?
Yeah. So Tuukka Rask, 24 save shutout. In elimination games, if you go back to the Columbus game, he had a shutout there. And then Game 7 versus Toronto, I believe he only let in the one goal in that game. So when he's come up clutch, like, you got Logan Couture in the West and Tuukka Rask in the East as the Conn Smythe favorites. But yeah, Tuukka Rask is now up to a .942 save percentage in 17 games. And Boston has now won 7 straight games in that win streak. Rask has a .961 save percentage, only allowing 9 goals on 229 shots. And also in the conference finals, stopped 109 of 114 shots which is the fourth highest in NHL history in a conference final. With a 9.56 save percentage, and he's actually also second on this list with a 9.85 save percentage back in 2013 versus the Penguins. And if you're wondering who's at the top, Jean-Sébastien Giguère in 2003 versus Minnesota had a 9.92 save percentage, which is insane, which is mind-boggling. But it just shows how good he's played in these playoffs, and especially I think we're talking about that glove save on Williams in the second period, where Williams is point blank chance in the slot and shoots it high glove, and Rask just stands there, hardly moves, hardly reacts, and this easy glove save. It's just like he's just making things look so easy. And then of course you get to the big three, Marchand, Pastrnak, and Bergeron. They combined for 3 goals. 4 goals. My bad.
Yeah, all the goals last night.
yeah, all the goals. 4 goals and 8 points. Bergeron with 2 goals. Boston with another 2 power play goals. They finished the series 7 for 15 on the man advantage, which basically, when you're operating basically at 50% in the playoffs, in a series, that's you're going to win basically every single time. And Carolina's power play for running, they went 5 for 52 in the entire playoffs. That's only a 9.6 percentage. So special teams, if you don't get them and if you don't get the scoring, you're not going to win. But yeah, those big three, like the Marchand pass to set up Pastrnak on the opening goal, and then Pastrnak and Bergeron doing their thing on the other 2 goals. Just they're just really fun to watch, and it's going to be really interesting to see if San Jose or St. Louis can beat Boston in the finals, because with the way they're playing it, and especially defensively, and that was without Zdeno Chara as well on the back end, if any of those 2 teams can beat Boston, because right now I don't think anybody can, but we've seen teams coming off a lot of rest. It takes them a little bit to get going, but I think Boston has the experience to continue things on in the Stanley Cup finals.
If I had a goal horn, I would blow it as St. Louis has just gone up 2-0 in the game against San Jose. Bozak on a power play, it looks like from Maroon and Pietrangelo after a good face-off win by Ryan O'Reilly. So 2-0 still, about just past the halfway mark of the first period for St. Louis. I believe it's halfway mark. Actually, there's only about 2 minutes left now in the first period. So 2-0 St. Louis against San Jose. They're in control of that game so far, but still the first period's still early. Boston's in the Stanley Cup final for the 3rd time in the last 9 years. 2011, 2013, they obviously won the cup against the Canucks in 2011 and lost to
Chicago.
It was Chicago. I was going to say it might have been LA, but I think it was Chicago. I remember Patrick Kane having his way with Chara somehow with his stick handling.
David Boland with the late game winner.
But the Bergeron Taves matchup would have been insane to watch. But so they're in for the 3rd time in the last 8 years. And do you think that I still think whoever wins the West is going to win the Cup this year? I kind of thought whoever won the Vegas-San Jose series would win the Cup. Although St. Louis has turned a lot of heads. They've surprised everyone this year, obviously knocking out Winnipeg to start, and then, of course, Dallas, who upset Nashville. But how do you see Boston faring against either one of these 2 teams?
Yeah, I think Boston matches up well, and I actually would have them as the favorites in the Stanley Cup final against either. Like San Jose, they can score a lot of goals, but they can also give up a lot of goals. So that can go either way. St. Louis, I think, would match up maybe a little bit better just because defensively they got a better structure. But Boston, like, as much as they put up the goals, they're weak defensively. And whenever you have a hot goalie, the way Rask is playing, I always give them the advantage over anybody else. Like, you got Logan Couture, who has 14 goals in 17 games in the playoffs, which is another just mind-boggling stat there. But when it comes to hot goaltender, like we saw Jonathan Quick when they were the 8th seed, take them all the way, and like he was basically unbeatable that entire playoffs. When you got goaltending, if it's like Rask versus Bennington or Rask versus Jones, I'm taking Rask every single time. And yeah, it just comes down to defensive play, because I think San Jose, they could put up goals, but you just never know how good defensively they are going to be every night. But yeah, I think Boston would win either way, I think.
And for me, I still never want to count St. Louis out. I can see them outmatching physically a Boston Bruin team. Oh, that would be a crazy series. I think that'd be a good series either way. I'm pretty happy with the matchup against either St. Louis or San Jose. Definitely be interesting to see. GM of the year announced today, or the final three came out. Why don't you fill us in on that, as well as some of the moves from around the league?
All right, yeah. So the three candidates for GM of the year from the St. Louis Blues: Doug Armstrong. And over the year, he acquired Ryan O'Reilly in the offseason. He signed Tyler Bozak, Patrick Maroon, and David Perron in the offseason. As well, if you look at guys through the draft, you have Jordan Binnington, who was a big standout this year, nominated for the Calder. You got guys like Colton Parayko and Vince Dunn on the back end, and a lot of young forwards coming up, like Robbie Fabry, Jaden Schwartz, a bunch of guys, Tarasenko, that have been there for a long time. So great year there. For the Boston Bruins, Don Sweeney, a couple big moves or big trades at the trade deadline, and Charlie Coyle and Marcus Johansson, who have both been huge in this postseason for them. And then for free agent signings, he brought in some depth in Chris Wagner, Joachim Nordstrom, and John Moore. And, of course, Yaroslav Halak, who actually had a great season during the regular season. And I think that's a big thing of why Rask has played so well, because I think he only played like 50-something games in Halak. I think his numbers were even better than Rask during the regular season. And then if you go to like the draft and some of the younger guys that they have, guys like on the back end, like Matt Grzelcyk, Connor Clifton, and Brandon Carlo, and Charlie McAvoy, a lot of young, good defensemen. And out front, you have guys like Jake DeBrusk, David Pastrnak, some of the younger guys who go along with all those vets in Marchand, Bergeron, and Krejci. And then, of course, from the Carolina Hurricanes, Don Waddle. Some really nice trades this year. Getting Nino Niederreiter, an absolute steal. Also, Michael Furland.
It's like the older kid stealing the candy from the young kid, right?
Man, I still don't understand what Minnesota was doing there, getting Victor Rask for Nino Niederreiter. It just boggles my mind. But, of course, Michael Furland and Dougie Hamilton were also acquired. And then if you go in free agent signings, you got Peter Mrazek on a nice one-year deal, and Calvin DeHaan. And also he picked up Curtis McElhinney off waivers from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then I know Waddle's been with the Carolina organization for a longer time, but seeing as this is like the first year as GM, you got Andrei Svechnikov in the draft this past year, but a lot of younger guys as well, like Sebastian Aho, Jacob Slavin, were both big standouts. And then I know even getting Tara Vine in a trade. I know that was before his time, but that was another great move by Carolina. So yeah, those are your three candidates, and I think you brought it up. All four of those teams made it to the conference finals, so you know your team has made it. And I think you brought up, you thought Doug Wilson could have probably been nominated for this as well with the San Jose Sharks.
He's just done some terrific drafting. He brought in Erik Karlsson. He signed Evander Kane last year at the trade deadline. He brought in Mike Hoffman and flipped them 3 hours later for more than what they paid for him. So I think he's done a terrific job as well. It could have been any one of those four. I'm going to probably say the Carolina, Don Waddell, will probably end up winning it. That's my guess anyway. So other news and notes, the exodus in Columbus has kind of started, as well as the player extension.
Yeah, so John Davidson resigned as president of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and he took the New York Rangers job as president, replacing Glenn Sather as team president. So I think there was a lot of rumors, I think, going into this that he might leave there for New York, and then which I thought was good because you got Sergei Bobrovsky now selling his condo in Columbus, and Panarin's just gone. And then you got lots of question marks around Matt Duchene, if he's going to re-sign or not. So It could be an interesting off season there to see where everybody goes. Also, the Edmonton Oilers, another guy leaving their management, which I think a lot of Oilers fans will be happy about. Craig McTavish signed a 2-year deal in the KHL to be a head coach of the Locomotive there. So I think hopefully there'll be a few more guys leaving. I know like guys like Kevin Lowe and all those guys. I hope are gone there. Also, Issa Lindell got a huge 6-year contract extension with the Dallas Stars worth $34.8 million, a $5.8 million cap hit. The last 4 years of that deal, he has a no movement clause. But yeah, this year he had 11 goals and 32 points in 82 games in the regular season, and added a goal and 4 points in 13 playoff games. His average ice time was 24 minutes and 20 seconds during the regular season, and that went up to 26 minutes and 58 seconds in the postseason. He's part of that big three on the back end with Miro Heiskanen and John Klingberg. So a lot of good young defensemen there for many years to come.
I like Lindell as long as he doesn't dive like he did in that one.
Yeah.
Game.
Oh my goodness.
He's awful to watch.
And then also for some World Championship stuff, Brandon Montour was an MCL sprain and he's out 6 weeks. So that's why he's done. Philippe Myers, I think he actually basically got off the plane and joined Canada for their 5-2 win over France. I think he only played like under 10 minutes just because of the air travel getting over there. But also Nino Niederreiter will be joining Team Switzerland for the rest of the World Championship. So he'll join the big two there in Nico Hischier and Kevin Fiala up front there. And Switzerland, they're still undefeated. I think between them, Germany, and Russia, they're the only 3 undefeated teams. Canada is actually facing Germany tomorrow in a big matchup there. But yeah, that's about all I got. One last thing with Erik Karlsson with the 2 goals, he's now up to 15 points in this postseason. He joins a limited list of non-Canadian-born defensemen of multiple 15-plus playoff seasons. He joins Chris Chelios, Brian Leach, Sergei Zubov, Stefan Persson, and Sandis Ozilage, who each had 2. And, of course, at the very top, Nicholas Lidstrom, who had 5 15-plus point playoff seasons. So crazy list there. But yeah, that's the way.
Curious to see what the Canadians have done. I would say Paul Coffey, Ray Bork. I'd be curious. Ray Bork probably has like 10. I wouldn't be surprised. Same with Coffey. Al McInnes comes to mind for other big playoff performers. I'd be curious to see what that stat looked like for Canadian-born defensemen.
I would think maybe Duncan Keith would be up there as well. I might think with some of their runs. But yeah, that'd be something I'd have to bring up on Monday's show. I'd have to take a look at that.
So final word, Matt, before we end today's show.
All right. So if you're watching this now, I haven't posted any highlights up yet today, but I'll have all the Blues and Sharks highlights up first, and then all of the top highlights from today's World Championships. And the Memorial Cup started today as well in Halifax, I believe. I saw talking about J.S. Giguère. He actually did the ceremonial puck drop there, as he's a former Moosehead. So I'll try to get some highlights up there. I think last time I saw it was 2-0 for the Mooseheads over. It was Prince Albert. They were playing. It was 2-0 last time I saw it. So, but yeah, I'll have all those up tonight, and then over the weekend. Well, NHL hockey, we won't have anything until Sunday. I think that's a noon start time for Game 5 in San Jose and St. Louis. And then the rest of the World Championship highlights, I'll keep them just to the top highlights, just because there's a lot. And especially with some of the top teams playing some of the lower teams, you're getting like 10-0 games and stuff. Yeah. But I'll have all of Canada's highlights.
I saw Roman Polak scored a goal from behind center today on the Italian goalie. So Czechs were pretty excited about that. It kind of skipped a little bit on the ice. See that highlight if you get a chance. Also watched Great Britain's 3-game ritual if you haven't seen it yet. I can't remember what they call it. It's like the raining bullets or something like that. And they all throw pucks up in the air and let them bounce off their helmets. So interesting pregame, but have a look through that. Next week we'll be getting more into the World Championships as that gets towards the elimination rounds. We'll have more Stanley Cup. We won't be here though Monday due to the holiday, so we'll be back on Wednesday. I'm not sure if that's what you're going to say.
Yeah, I was just about to say. I was just like, I said Monday show, but I forgot it was a long weekend. So yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah. So if you're in Canada, enjoy the long weekend. If you're joining us from around the world, anywhere else, hey, you're probably already into your Saturday. So enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the World Championships. Enjoy the NHL playoffs, the Memorial Cup. There's still lots of hockey to be watched right now. This is just a terrific time of year for that. So anyways, take care, and we will see you guys next week.